I have visited a lot of chapters in Philippines, and a lot of them are focused on current events of APO Philippines. And I would like to give the overview or what are the current events or what is happening on the process or system or APO Philippines. So most of them are not so once they ask me, did you know that we have these chapters already and there's this course? So I would like to ask, so these are what makes APO USA different from other fraternities in colleges and universities in the States?
Okay, Alpha Omega USA is the largest service-based collegiate fraternity in the U.S. We happen to use the term just fraternity, we don't use the term sorority, but our membership has many women co-ed. We are different because we have such strong focus on our cardinal principles of leadership, friendship, and service, and we are different in other ways as well. So, for example, in the U.S., there are many social fraternities and sororities. Many of them have houses so that they all live together, which allows for some different kinds of fellowship. But that means it's often expensive to live in those houses and pay for room and board. And so it's important for Alpha Phi Omega to not have houses. We let our brothers who may be living at home, they can still participate in Alpha Phi Omega and all the activities. Of course, we focus on leadership development, and we focus on fellowship and friendship, and we focus on service. We want our brothers to learn from their time and make them better people that are able to change the community, be leaders in the community, which is what our founders had in mind, after all, is to make sure that they go out there.
May I know how do you utilize the current technologies such as Facebook, internet, website for amplifying the information inside the organization?
So we definitely use current technology. We have a lot of sections and regions do a lot of their communications to our collegiate chapters through Facebook and other electronic means, Instagram. Everyone still uses email as well, so those are all important. Some of our programming is now being delivered electronically, so we have national level programming for leadership development and education through specific programs that we have. So these are webinars that are offered, some of which are just an hour long. There are others which are longer, and so we're able to provide that training, whether it be general skills training or leadership specific training, and deliver that to all of our chapters who are interested in participating, even if they are far away, hard to get to, hard to get to conferences, or they might be able to access some of the kinds of programming, but they can do it electronically. Andy, you want to add?
Yeah, and also a number of chapters are using online platforms to coordinate their programs. There's for instance, to track, for instance, sign-ups for various service programs and track the number of hours that the brothers have done for membership requirements and awards, and track fees and stuff, and budget requirements. And in fact, nationally as well, we have a platform where, for instance, the chapters submitting their requirements for annual charter reaffirmation is submitted to an online platform rather than having to mail back and forth paperwork. And this makes it a lot faster to extend it. It lets the national office staff as well as the alumni volunteer staff, the region director, the region chairs, the section chairs, get quicker reports to see how chapters are doing, if they're thriving, or if they need help, and can be better able to provide that help.
You mentioned you established a webinar in national organization. May I know what are the topics that you have in your webinar and how does it work? Who can access the webinar?
So the kind of educational training materials in these webinars varies. We have one series of webinars where the topics are very specific. For example, how are you able to organize a section conference to be of service to the fraternity by being the host of a conference? There's a lot of work and there's a lot of details that would be useful for people to learn about. And so that's one such webinar. You might have other webinars that talk about recruitment. How are you able to reach out to those students on your campus and to invite them to learn more about Phi Omega so that they can decide if they want to join. We might have other webinars that talk about what does it mean to be a service vice president? What kinds of service projects might you organize on your campus, in your community? So that people who are perhaps new brothers are not sure if they're able to do this kind of officer role for their chapter. Maybe they're afraid they can't do it. They can learn more through these webinars, and that might give them the confidence to participate in the next election and say, I would like to be a chapter officer. I think I can do this. I've learned about it. I talk to people who are chapter also it's a great way to develop. And that's a big part about Phi Omega is to develop others. They come in, they need to learn more and become better leaders, better managers of the chapter.
And in addition to that, we also have online. We have a national leadership development program, APO, of which the first program launched is offered online, and that's kind of a more structured program. That's the online version is 2 hours and 15 minutes, and it covers the concepts of servant leadership, which is a model for leadership. It covers principles as well as a servant chapter model, and that's how, which is an extension of the chapter. And to your other question about who can access it, really anyone can. We don't really keep it secure about it. There's nothing on any of these that we're keeping secret. I mean, it's
So Brother Dan's point is that we don't make a strong effort to lock people out. What's much more important is that not that we don't mind if other people enjoy the webinars, because part of the point of a webinar is it doesn't matter if there's 100 or 500 people. What's much more important to us is that our brothers know about these as a resource and that they choose to participate. It's much better that there are more brothers who learn from these webinars than for us to say, well, if you're a non-brother, you can't access this. It's less important to us. But of course, it is part of the benefits of being a brother is to gain access to this kind of program because you get told about it.
And also, here in APO Philippines, we have a process in APO Federation program that we need to invite regional or section officers of the region to initiate Alpha to Omega days. How do you, this is our way of, this is our way of monitoring the progress and development of APO program in our APO program. When you reside in APO, do you monitor the progress? Or do you have ikaw na mag-order in
APO USA, our structure includes alumni volunteers who primarily the section chair would be the closest to chapters. And our section chairs are expected to be monitoring our chapters to make sure that they are continuing to do the things that we want APO chapters to do and not do anything to avoid the things that they're not supposed to be doing. Our section chairs may rely on other volunteers to help because typically we will have an alumni volunteer section chair who's responsible for 6 to 7 chapters. And it's not fair to ask a volunteer to regularly visit 6 or 7 chapters. That's just too much for one person to do. Perhaps a section chair will have other volunteers that can attend the chapter events regularly. And that way they can see this is a chapter that is operating the way it should. It's remaining focused on leadership development and service and friendship development. That's not doing anything that we prohibit. And then they can report back to the section chair that everything is good. Or sometimes there are problems that are developing and the section chair is responsible for working with the chapter. And the chapter, we believe in a strong system of advisors, chapter advisors, who work more closely with the chapter as well. We might work with the chapter advisors to say, this chapter is now forgetting to do something they should be doing. Let's encourage them to make that an important part of their business.
And some of those advisors may have been brothers as undergraduates, but others may not have been. And in fact, advisors that are brothers now are the advisory membership. We go through the initiation ritual and become brothers. But for instance, each chapter is required to have 2 advisors from the faculty or staff of the school, which help to keep an eye to advise that, and that gives continuity to the advising team.
And we're very interested in having those faculty and staff advisors to connect the chapter to the university campus, because they are they're staff employees of the university, and so that's part of what they're there for, is to take the chapter and make sure that the chapter follows campus rules and policies, but also supports the campus, to do service for the campus. Because that is part of our purpose for existing, is to give back to our campuses as well.
Are these activities of the chapter being reported to the national level, and how?
So we do ask that our chapters report certain kinds of activities. So of course, we ask that they report when they have recruited students to pledge, to become pledges. And we ask that our chapters report on a timely basis, which sometimes chapters aren't so good at, when this happens. Also, when their pledges have completed the pledge program and are initiated to become active brothers in the chapter. We currently don't require sort of centralized reporting of all of their activities. We don't require they report their service projects. We don't require they report all of their fellowship events. Part of what we do have is as Brother Daniel has mentioned, many of our chapters use additional online resources to manage their chapter. And so a chapter might decide, well, we are going to keep track of all of our service projects and who attend, because it's important for them to hold their brothers and sisters accountable, that they should be participating in the right number of service projects. That if you have a brother or a sister who's not participating in service projects, then that should be certainly a concern. And it's up to the chapter bylaws to decide if that means that there are more specific issues that result.
So one last question. Before inactivity, you have this pledge program that you have pledge member. It's a very sensitive issue. After you say, do you have a pledge, or your pledge program is straight to full pledge membership?
That's interesting. I don't think I necessarily know enough about what it means to be a half pledge. I can say that in APO USA, it is typical for chapters to organize their pledging process around the academic school year. In the U.S., universities sometimes take the typical school year and split it into 2 semesters or into 3 quarters, and typically a pledge period lasts sort of one of these academic periods. Some chapters allow for pledges to continue. So rather than finishing in one academic period, they essentially renew as pledges into the next academic period. I'm not sure if that's close to what you're talking about a half pledge.
Or observation period. Do you have any observation period for your members before they could have, or they could attain full pledge membership?
Okay, I mean, well, so there's a concept of being a prospective, perhaps, right? So if you think about having a chapter on a university campus, the entire university has a population of students, many of whom aren't really thinking about joining Alpha Phi Omega. And a chapter in its recruitment process, it should start with a large number of people who maybe know about Alpha Phi Omega but haven't decided to pledge, and sometimes the term we use for that is perspective. They might join Alpha Phi Omega, but they haven't made the decision to do that. So maybe that's a little bit of what you're talking about. For us, chapters generally don't charge a pledging fee, and they until someone has decided to pledge. So they go through the pledging ceremony. They have to pay a fee that the chapter collects and then submits to nationalization. So before that, they might be just a perspective. Maybe that's something like the half pledge you're talking about. We don't tend to use the term half pledge, so I'm unclear exactly what.
Yeah, and our main period of observation is the pledging program. I think where the chapters will have requirements for the pledges that they need to complete during the pledge program in order to be able to initiate crossover. And I mean, we hope that obviously we hope that all of them do, but if they don't, then the chapter will decide will not in fact initiate them. Requirements, things like number of service hours. Many chapters will have leadership requirements to be able to have the pledges as a whole or individually plan a project so that they're prepared, so that all the steps so that the chapter is confident that they are prepared to cross over and become active, involved runners who will stay around.
Thank you so much. One last question. What can you say about APO Philippines 2019 Laoag Convention?
Well, it's hot and humid for one.
Yeah.
But what's much more important is that the APO Philippines brothers who are here are very warm and passionate about the fraternity, and it's very energizing and very inspiring to see all of this passion and commitment. And so I look forward to coming back in the future to see more of this kind of excitement.
We certainly appreciate their service in ensuring the continued success of APO Philippines and indeed APO worldwide.
To be honest, here in APO Philippines, a lot of alumni are more amplified rather than the collegiate, and hopefully your next visit you can see more of the collegiate members in APO Philippines. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.